Got it. Let's do SQL injection from absolute basics in English, simple language with clear examples. I'll explain it like you're learning it for the first time, no stress. Well, what is SQL? SQL, structured query language, is used by websites to talk to databases. Example, a website stores users like this: ID, username, password, 1 admin, admin123, 2 Nikhil, test123. To check login, the website runs a query like, you can see the code in our conversation history. If this query returns data, login successful. What is SQL injection? SQL injection happens when user input is not properly checked, attacker inserts SQL code into input field. The database executes attacker's SQL. In simple words, user input becomes part of the SQL query. Normal login example, no attack. Login form, you can see the code in our conversation history. Backend query, you can see the code in our conversation history. Correct? Login allowed. Try half SQL injection login bypass, basic example. Now attacker enters. You can see the code in our conversation history. The query becomes, you can see the code in our conversation history. What happened is a comment in SQL. Everything after is ignored. So database sees only, you can see the code in our conversation history. Password check is skipped. Login bypassed. Most famous payload, very basic. You can see the code in our conversation history. Used in login fields, query becomes, you can see the code in our conversation history. Why it works: 1 = 1 is always true. Database returns all users. Login succeeds. SQL injection in URL, get parameter. Example URL, you can see the code in our conversation history. Backend query, you can see the code in our conversation history. Injection, you can see the code in our conversation history. Query becomes, you can see the code in our conversation history. 1 = 1 is always true. All products returned. Why SQL injection happens. Main reasons: no input validation, directly inserting user input into SQL, using old code, no prepared statements. Bad code example, PHP, you can see the code in our conversation history. Types of SQL injection, very short. 1, authentication bypass, login without password. 2, union-based SQLi, extract data. 3, error-based SQLi, use database errors. 4, blind SQLi, no output, yes, no responses. 5, time-based SQLi, delay-based detection. We can go deep into each later. How to prevent SQL injection, important. Use prepared statements. You can see the code in our conversation history. Input validation, least privileged database user, web application firewall. Legal note, important. Learn SQL injection only for bug bounty, labs, Portswigger, HTTP, THM, your own applications. Never test on random websites. If you want, next we can do SQL injection step-by-step in labs, blind SQL injection, union-based SQL injection with real examples. How bug bounty hunters find SQLi. Just tell me.